Fat Like Me is the 11th episode of Kirstie Alley's Big Life, and there's definitely a lot of value in this episode, but it does feel kind of awkward. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it doesn't make for the most comfortable viewing, and I will explain what I mean by that in a moment. It also doesn't have a lot of variety to it. A lot of the other episodes have quite a lot going on, whereas that's not so much the case here. That also means that I don't have too many notes on this, so this may not be the longest discussion because there's not a great amount of things to cover, but I will share some thoughts nonetheless. So, of course, there will be spoilers for things that happen in this, and we have two main parts of this episode. One, Lillie has her driving permit, and two, Kirstie makes everybody wear fat suits. And we'll get to that one in a moment because that's obviously the main part of the episode. Initially, I didn't think I'd care about the driver's permit part. I don't drive, I've had a couple of lessons, I hate it, I don't care. So I thought, I'm not really going to find this interesting. But actually, I don't know why, but I found the scene in the parking lot to be really fun. Basically, Kirstie is teaching Lillie to park the car in between some cones, and honestly, it was fun. I enjoyed it. And it didn't make me want to get behind the wheel of a car again, but it was entertaining, and I enjoyed that a lot more than I thought. The fat suit part definitely is valuable, but it is uncomfortable. Kirstie sees that everybody is eating all manner of junk food, and she decides to make everybody wear fat suits to kind of encourage them to think about the fact that one day their bad eating habits might just catch up with them. And everybody puts on fat suits. And what I did like about this, I thought it was very effective, is that the fat suits were all different shapes because people carry weight differently. And I think it was a good way of showing this. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I thought it was definitely a good choice regardless. And everybody's wearing these fat suits, and we get to see them doing different things. Kirstie gets to show what it's like to have to try on clothes when you're bigger, not a comfortable experience, and how much more difficult it is to bathe and do different things. Lillie gets behind the wheel of the car at one point, which I have to admit probably wasn't the safest idea. I can't imagine it's very safe to drive with a fat suit if you're not used to carrying that weight around. It's probably not the safest, but nevertheless, it demonstrated that even that was a difficult task, and I think that it definitely helps to show that actually it is challenging. And at one point, Kelly even talked about how it affected her emotionally and how it made her feel, and I wasn't expecting that. I thought it would just be about people learning that actually doing things physically is a lot bigger when you're carrying this extra weight. They're also wearing their weighted vests as well. They had an additional 40 pounds on them, which definitely was adding to things. And I think that's a pretty good idea as well. And we definitely had various examples of how having that extra weight can cause problems and make everyday tasks difficult. But I really liked what Kelly added to this about how it made her feel. And Lillie mentioned at one point that she didn't like people constantly referring to her, I think, her fat stomach, obviously the stomach of the fat suit. And I think it could definitely be very eye-opening. And I think it was very eye-opening for Kirstie as well to see other people having these, first of all, the physical changes in their appearance, but also seeing them struggling to do different things. I think it probably brought a lot home as well. So I think there's a lot of value in this, but it definitely was quite awkward and uncomfortable. And the way people spoke about their own bodies and how disgusting it was to have these fat suits on, technically kind of insensitive. I don't necessarily think that was the intention, but it does make it kind of awkward. So it's not the most comfortable to watch, but I do think it was a brilliant idea. I think it was very effective both for Kirstie and for everybody else as a glimmer of what could come if they didn't adopt healthier eating habits. So definitely very interesting, very thought-provoking, but a little bit awkward. And as I said, I wasn't expecting to love the part with the driver's permit, but actually I found it to be pretty great. Not inspirational, no interest in getting more lessons, but certainly very interesting. And this is the penultimate episode, which is heartbreaking. One more episode to go, but I'll get emotional about that when we get there. For now, Fat Like Me is definitely a very interesting episode of Kirstie Alley's Big Life.